Good evening and Shavua Tov. It's Natalie Zangon, also known as Mother Goose. Today I wanted to do a video about what chemical controls it, what hormone or chemical in our brain controls it. Every emotion that we have is controlled by certain chemicals in our brain that tells us how to feel and what to feel. Our frontal part of our brain, our frontal lobe, is what has access to our emotions and our feelings. And right behind our nose, behind our eyes, it's the pituitary gland, which releases different chemicals in our brain to let us know what to feel. So, our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system is impacted by the chemicals that are released through the pituitary gland and the amygdala. Amygdala, again, behind here, if you were to look like behind here, is in charge of what Daniel Siegel calls is like it's our mammalian brain. It's like right here. And when our frontal lobe thinks there's a danger there, our parasympathetic kind of stops working and our sympathetic nervous system gets activated. And when the amygdala is activated, we are in our fight or flight, rage, and anger mode. And I was talking about this to a few friends of why do we like get the eyebrows going down when we're angry and we zone in? It's because we are going into a threat zone that we think something is about to get at us. We zone in with our eyes, focus in, and kind of like built our defenses because we think we are in a attack mode and start getting that rage and cortisol and adrenaline gets pumped up in our blood and our mouth kind of gets dry, our heart beats differently, our eyes gets dilated differently because our body thinks we're about to get attacked. And this is what helped us in our ancient time of living in the jungle, whatever it is. And in our present life right now, there are certain things during our childhood that was experienced by us feeling a threat. So different things in our environment can trigger that and send us back into the to our zone. Sometimes it could be a smell, it could be a behavior, it could be an eye look, it could be a word, it could be an expression, and then we get triggered and get defensive and go into the fight or flight mode. Our tone of voice might go higher. We attack the other person. We get defensive. We say, why'd you say that to me? And immediately go into this protection mode and the defensive mode, right? And what's the opposite of that? It's the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our calm, relaxed, slow breath. Our throat is opened up. We can take deep breath, and that's how we get our sympathetic nervous system to slow down is by the deep breath of getting our frontal lobe to get activated and the logic coming in versus the emotion. So people that were brought up in a more calm, loving, belonging, empathy, understanding, compassion, their brain doesn't produce as much cortisol and adrenaline, which are the stress hormones. So they get triggered a lot less. And instead, they have more of the serotonin, dopamine, and the most amazing chemicals, oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love and the connecting bonding. And there's a lot of research done that people that don't have as much access to their emotional and social interaction and social cues have a lower level of dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, which are the chemicals that are needed to be able to create that empathy and understanding. So when you don't have as much access to it, you don't use it as much. So you end up growing up in the fight or flight mode, in the survival mode. Almost you always think another fight is going to happen. Another protection is going to happen. I have to do this stuff. I have to do that instead of being in a calm, relaxed environment. When a mother is pregnant, the stress of the pregnancy can affect that. The argument between the husband and wife can affect that. When the baby is born, the tense, the tension in the home, the sadness, depression, the frightening, whether there was a war happening, domestic violence, arguments, stress, just even the detachment of the pressure of life can affect that fetus and that baby that's born to have their body be in the sympathetic fight or flight mode versus the parasympathetic, which is more of the empathy, calmness, and affection. So, in order for us to be able to demonstrate a healthier version of this for our children, if we didn't have awareness of it, is allowing our children to have access to all of their feelings, naming all of their feelings, and finding way to release their emotions and feelings. To be able to have empathy and compassion, you have to be taught that. To be able to have empathy and compassion, someone needs to teach you that. But if as an infant you don't even feel belong and empathy for yourself, how are you going to grow up to provide that for other people? If you feel like your mother, or especially, wasn't empathetic, wasn't okay with you having all your emotions, wasn't okay with you experiencing all of your feelings, how are you going to do that with another person? Many people don't know how much issue they have with their emotional intelligence unless and until they get married and have children. And even when they get married, they will understand that if they are married to someone who's more emotionally in tune, then the problems will come up. Because at work, at school, at a job, these things don't really matter as much. It's when you are with a partner and you're trying to create that closeness that you don't know how to do that. You don't know how to put the defenses down, how to make the empathetic eye contact, how to be there and look at the person and say, I hear you. I can understand that. That sounds really painful. To be able to get into that space of empathy, you had to have seen it or experienced it or learned about it to be able to now provide it for someone else. And that is the essential factor of a healthy relationship: the empathy, the consideration, the emotional connection is so valuable and important. No money, no education, no huge house can replace that. So now is the time for you to work on that, creating a space to slow down, get in tune with the feelings, understand it, understand that your children, spouse, people can be mad at you, they could be jealous, they could be angry, they could be frustrated. I always tell my kids, you're allowed to your madness, but you cannot take it out on me. You can wait till you could use your words, then I'm here to listen. But if you're busy screaming and yelling, take your time. I'm here, right here in the kitchen. Whenever you could use your words, you could come and tell me. If you're not aggressive, I don't mind hearing you out. But if you get too activated or you start kicking or yelling or screaming, whoever it is, I will not get close to you because safety first, right? You are allowed to your own madness, sadness, frustration, anger, whatever it is, but you're not allowed to take it on anyone else. You're not allowed to hurt anyone. You're not allowed to hurt yourself, and you're not allowed to break things. Madness is an emotion, anger is an emotion, that it comes and goes. So does sadness, happiness, and everything else. Our emotions are like the beautiful experiences, whatever it is that we go through, it's like a wave, it comes and goes. But in order for us to have empathy, we need to create empathy within ourselves to be able to offer it to the other. Thank you so much for watching. This is Natalie Zangon. And one day I hope we could find ways to help people have access to these emotions and name them and feel them so they could have a healthier relationship with themselves and their loved ones in their life, especially their spouses.